Moe's Southwest Grill paid my way through touring.
The music industry doesn't exist because of music.
So just like fame doesn't equal money, money doesn't equal fame.
Broadcasting from Nashville, Tennessee, offering a glimpse inside the music industry, shedding light on things they don't want you to know, and exposing some of the industry's biggest secrets. You're listening to the Turned Up Podcast, presented by Real Sound Productions. Here are your hosts, Jake Jones.
I'm just famous for my ironing skills and my survey taking. So.
And Robert Venable.
That is a liar. That is a liar. That is a liar. The singer is a liar.
Hello there, welcome to the Turned Up Podcast.
My name's Jake Jones.
My name is Robert Venable.
And what we're going to do today is podcast for you.
Dude, is that how I sound?
Is that how I sound?
Maybe a little bit, so dubs.
Sometimes I've got a cold, so I sound a little different today.
What's going on?
Oh, besides making impressions of you, nothing.
We're glad you're here.
It's like a song you would sing with kindergartners when you get there, and every morning before class starts, we're glad you're here today.
You know what, Robert? I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
That's what this podcast is about, is the truth.
The truth of what?
The music industry.
Like, is it a whole bunch of lies?
There's a whole bunch of misconceptions.
Well, let's clear them up, like clear a sail for Backney.
Ooh, Backney.
Remember that?
Remember it.
From a minute ago?
Every day. Every day I remember Backney.
Let's get off this. It's kind of gross.
You know what else is really gross?
No, go ahead.
Robert Venable.
Pretty gross.
Pretty gross how awesome you are.
Oh, thank you.
That doesn't even make sense.
I'll take it.
My amazing friend and co-host, Robert Venable, he is an award-winning producer. He's an engineer. He's a drummer for the band As We Ascend. He is a professional songwriter and is killing the country scene. He's got gold records, Dove Awards, Grammy nominations, you name it, the guy's done it. He's worked with 21 Pilots. He's been in a movie. He's done soundtracks, the whole 9 yards. My favorite thing about Robert, though, is his love for making YouTube videos with Barbie dolls doing soap opera reenactments, and he is really good at it.
I have a niche market, though, not just reenactments in general of soap operas, only from 1985 to 1989 soap operas. So
I saw your Days of Our Lives one.
Days of Our Lives is the one that went viral.
That was amazing. Made me cry, actually.
That was the one where they cut Barbie's hair. But yeah, you've seen it. Anyway, just look it up. Barbie doll soap opera reenactments from 85 to 89. Look at the best of. I think those are my best days.
You're incredible.
Jake Jones, you're incredible. I like when you look at me that way.
Stop.
Jake Jones, let me tell you about yourself real quick.
Please. I don't know.
You are also a producer and engineer. You should find out, if you don't know about Jake Jones, look him up and see how many songs at any given time he has in the top 10 charts. It's kind of cool looking through the charts every week and seeing like, I remember you worked on that song. Oh, you wrote that song? Oh, you produced that song? So you are killing it, my friend, like a serial murderer of songs.
Just don't tell the police.
Oh, man. So besides that, you also play instruments, like the Git Fiddle, as they call it here in Nash Vegas. Formerly for the rock band, not country folk, We As Human, but currently playing for As We Ascend, which is our oh-so-faithful band that we so loyally are members of together. But you are also a frontman of that band.
You make it sound so eloquent.
I don't think I do, but it is. If you don't know our music, you can also look that up on iTunes. But besides that, when you're not doing extreme ironing challenges, you are really enjoying taking surveys. So I have a question for you. Do you really like taking surveys? Really, really like taking surveys? Really, really, really like taking surveys? Or all of the above?
See, I tend to go for the strongly disagree, no opinion approach.
Do you always mark no opinion?
I don't really have an opinion on that.
Well played. So in this music industry that you and I are so loyally involved in, there seems to be a lot of misconceptions about from the general public. You know what I mean? So a lot of things that people kind of, I get questions a lot about. Like, is it true that this is what we need? Or they'll just say so matter-of-factly, this is what needs to happen and we're going to be famous. But
oh, yeah.
I'm sure you get emails like that too, though.
All the time.
And so even being around my family over the holidays, I heard a lot of things come up. Is it true that this happens? Or is it true that this is what it takes? And I'm like, this is going to be a good podcast. You and I should cover a lot of these questions and just set the record straight.
Absolutely. And same thing, friends and family from back home. I moved to Nashville 7 years ago, signed to a major record label, touring the country with big multi-platinum bands. Of course, everybody immediately just had it in their mind that I was rich, I was famous, that this is how the music industry worked, and now I was a part of it. And I get questions all the time.
You're famous to me, Jake Jones.
I'm just famous for my my ironing skills and my survey taking. So
no opinion on that either. So we compiled a list of all these questions. We spent a few hours, I guess, talking about what are some questions or some misconceptions or myths about the music industry that we can kind of clear up. And let's just jump right into this list.
So one I want to talk about is songwriting. And this one's not even on our list, but I think it's a good segue into this first topic. A question I get all the time, and we're going to cover this more in a later podcast, but is songs, selling songs.
Okay.
I get it from younger bands in the industry, people wanting to get into the industry, and then people that don't know anything about the industry. Especially when I tell people I'm a songwriter, the question is always, oh, so you write songs and sell them to artists?
Like you have a big collection or an arsenal library of songs that you've written, and you just put them up on eBay.
Well, you have to think of a song as an invention. Every song is its own invention.
Okay.
Right? So if I invent this thing, this item, I can sell this invention to someone else. And there's tragic stories in history of people selling these ideas. And then a company takes that idea and runs with it, and then it blows up into something that we all have in our homes. But 99.9% of the time in the world of songwriting, you don't sell songs. I don't know anyone that's ever sold a song on a day-to-day basis. That's not what happens. When you write a song, it's your song. You wrote it.
Sure.
And what you do, instead of selling it, is you license it, or you get another artist or band. If you're not going to record it yourself, you get another artist or band to record it themselves. They put the song out. That way, you get a royalty off the song every time it gets played on the radio, or they go out and tour it, or an album sells. In the world of songwriting, again, 99.9% of the time, that's the way it works. Nobody's really selling songs. You keep the songs that you own, and you try to get people to record them, but you still are the songwriter. So that being said, a lot of songwriters have a lot of misconceptions, but especially people that moved to Nashville, young aspiring songwriters,
right?
Think I just need to get that one big major label act to record my song, and then I'm going to be set.
I mean, most cases, no, not true. I don't think so. I mean, there are a dime a dozen songwriters here in Nashville, especially. I'm sure the same is in LA and in New York and many other cities. But people move here thinking what you just said, that I have all these songs. One of these is going to catch with Taylor Swift, for instance, and then all of a sudden I'm set for life. It doesn't quite work that way, I don't think.
But it could, right? I mean, let's say a big platinum selling song, a song that sells 1 million copies. I'm going to make a big check on that, right?
Well, okay, let's break it down. This is a question I get asked all the time. If one of my songs catches and the album sells 1 million copies, what am I going to make off of that? My parents even ask me that. Like, what if you sell this many copies? I mean, what does that mean monetarily?
It's $1 million, right? At least.
Okay, so 1 million copies of that CD sells, right? The statutory rate right now, I said statutory rate right now is 9.1 cents per copy, which means the song generates $91,000 in royalties. Okay, so your publisher gets half, which throw that away already. So you're only getting $45,500, which will actually be less because the publisher will probably take admin fees as well. So, but we'll just keep it at $45,500. So if you have a co-writer, which 10 out of 10 songs on the top 10 charts right now have at least 2 writers.
At least.
So if it's just you and another person who wrote that song, he or she will get half of the other portion of the songwriting portion, which means you're still left with $22,500 of your 1 million selling song. So if your song sells a million copies, you're getting $22,500 at most.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, $22,500 is nothing to, throw to the wayside. I'll take it. I'll take that check for $22,500.
Yeah.
However, you're not a millionaire if you sell a million copies.
And that's just talking about sales. There might be a little bit more money in it if you're talking about radio play and all of that sort of stuff.
Sure. And then sync stuff, it hits a movie, all sorts of stuff, which can still generate more income.
Kind of. So you and I'm going to plug As We Ascend again.
Okay.
AsWeAscend.com. No, for real. As We Ascend. I just, this past week, got my fourth quarter 2017 earnings report.
I was about to say, you didn't get a check, did you? Because I didn't get a check.
Oh, no. They don't cut checks that low. For real, they actually
They
don't.
really don't.
So this was the amount of money that I earned from radio airplay, from streams on iTunes and Spotify and all of that sort of stuff. And anywhere I earned a royalty off of anyone listening to the music.
And let's clarify real quick before you jump into this figure that this music, all of the singles, both the singles, I guess technically we've released off of this album, have hit top 10 Billboard charts. One of them stayed on the top of the charts, number 1 in the Billboard charts for a few weeks. And then we have the other one, still hitting top 5. One of those songs right now, currently, if you look up the Billboard charts, is sitting in the top 10.
Right.
And we're talking half a year spent, like even more than that, spent on top 10 in Billboard charts. So these are songs that are doing well. We would be, for all intents and purposes, as you said previously, successful.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk into the numbers. What does this translate to into dollars and cents here?
When you get a top 10, that's a hit. That's what the industry considers a hit song.
That's a goal.
You, me, and Justin Forshaw, our other singer and guitarist, we wrote these songs together. The song that went number 1, we had a fourth writer who was Josiah Prince from the band Disciple. So it's 4 songwriters, and then we have a publishing deal as well. But I know all 4 of us also get 50% of our publishing. So we split that writer share, and then we also split half of the publisher share as well.
So we're getting a little bit more than the typical songwriter would.
With that said, this last quarter, fourth quarter, 2017, that reflects when the song was up at number 1, $12.
$12.
And that's not just for the one song. That's for any song on the whole album. Radio, Spotify, iTunes. Quarter before that, a little better, $15. Quarter before that, $10.
Still not enough for them to cut a check yet.
I work with CSAC. CSAC won't write a check for anything less than $50.
And that's not a bash to CSAC at all. They have nothing to do with this. That's not their thing.
They just simply collect.
They don't want to spend admin fees writing checks for $12 or $15.
So right now, I think I'm up to $37. Maybe after the next quarter, I might have enough to actually get a check.
And then we're going to Chipotle.
For a cheap meal. Today's
man.
royalty day, baby. We're going to get the queso.
You guys can get the guac. Big ballers. So I guess that that myth has been busted. That if you have a top
Not
10,
plausible.
I love that show. You're not making millions by having a top 10 Billboard charting song, and one song being a hit is not changing your world forever.
No,
most likely.
Well, and sure. So the chart that we're on, it's a little bit of a smaller chart, right? It's not like a pop chart.
It's a small chart, but for a multi-million-dollar industry still.
Oh yeah.
Our genre.
Well, with We As Human, we not only topped the same chart, we did really well on 3 completely different charts, all at the same time, all different songs.
And what were you doing when you weren't on stage, Jake?
Well, I was wrapping cheese, chicken, and rice burritos for you, Robert.
That actually is a true story. That is a true story. I went into your restaurant and you made my burrito.
Moe's Southwest Grill paid my way through touring.
So I guess that brings us to another myth or misconception, if you will, about when I see a band, a rock band on stage, they've got it made. We know your names, we know your favorite color and what color Skittles you don't like. all of that stuff. But you're coming off the road and you aren't just sitting on gold trimmed couches.
Not even a little bit. In fact, so again, going back to We As Human, we're on tour with Skillet. We're on tour with Shinedown, Papa Roach, In This Moment, who I love.
Huge, big rock bands. Yeah.
Seven Dust, just touring everywhere, nonstop, all the time. We're selling merch. We're selling CDs. We're topping the charts. We're number one on the Octane Biggins. We're doing everything. And the whole time, literally the whole time, I was working at Moe's. They were so gracious to allow me to leave for months on end to go on tour. And then I would come back home, broke as all get out, and go back to work. In fact, we didn't even have internet. I lived in a little tiny apartment next to the public library. And if I needed to send an email that I couldn't send from my phone for any reason, I had to walk to the public library, use my library card to log in, and use their internet because I just couldn't afford it. It was just rent, food, and the bare necessities. And that was life on the road.
And that's not an exception necessarily to the rule. I remember when I first moved to Nashville from Phoenix, Arizona, where I was training kangaroos, as you remember from last episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You had just
By the way,
celebrated your 90th
why didn't you tell
birthday.
me they were rabbits? If you don't know what we're talking about, go back and listen to our previous episode.
Did somebody else tell you? I told you guys not to tell.
I listened to the podcast and you told me. So when I moved here, it was kind of startling to me that I went through a Starbucks drive-thru and somebody I looked up to in the music industry and was a fan of their band handed me my drink through the drive-thru window. And I'm like, that couldn't be him. And I went back and looked him up on Facebook. I'm like, that's totally him. That's who I just saw. And I went through again and he had a name tag on. And yes, that was somebody who I looked up to. And they're well-known bands that have gold and platinum records on the walls of their apartments next to the public library in a small town in Tennessee.
Yep.
It's so weird to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it might not all be as it seems up there. So let's stay on this track. Let's kind of beeline off of our notes for a second. So these people up on stage, a lot of times, and we've talked about this in a previous episode as well, Jake, where they're not necessarily in the band. They are hired guns, as we call it. Or
Yeah, we had Tyler Shirelli from Florida Georgia Line on an episode.
Who's not one of the two main Florida Georgia Line members. He is paid by the band to be on stage and play the part. And what an important part he does play, actually, being the music director. And man, that's a huge responsibility. Regardless, these people are up on stage that you pay your $20 plus $40 in fees to Ticketmaster to watch to perform, and you spend your $100 on sweatshirts and whatever to watch your favorite bands. Those guys are making maybe a couple $100 a show and then getting like $30 on their days off just to pay for meals while they're out on the road.
And these are smash hit worldwide, multi-platinum, number one.
You know all the words to their songs, bands.
Yeah.
And not the little opener bands. Those might not even be breaking even by playing shows. But yeah, so you see these people, and again, you know their dog's name and probably have Google searched their houses, trying to find where to send fan mail to get their autographs. And yeah, they're maybe, I can't tell you how many times I'm getting emails or texts from people in all genres of music saying, hey, you have any work? You have any studio work I could do? You know anybody who's hiring?
Yeah.
Anything like all
Big
the time.
name guys.
All the time. And it's just not what it looks like from your point of view, I guess. So another myth busted. We're not all balling out on stage.
Not all balling. And you know, something else that really is kind of mind-blowing is the amount of bands who are, I'm doing air quotes here, bands that still, it's one or two people in the band that are really running the band. The other guys are hired guns that are just in the band photos or, you know, up on stage. They're kind of made to look like the band, but they have nothing to do with the songwriting. They don't have anything to do with their own recording. They have nothing to do with it. They get the final versions of the songs and then have to learn them and then go on tour with the band. But they're kind of pitched as a band member because for that particular band, it looks better to, instead of look like two guys, it looks better to look like four people or whatever on stage.
Right. Unless you're 21 Pilots, then it's just two guys. So I clung onto a word you said there for a second. You said songwriting, which brings me to a question or a myth that I think a lot of people have is that the singer for the band, the front man, the most important person in the band on the stage is the person who writes all those wonderful, glorious, chart-topping, gold record, million-selling songs.
Absolutely, every single time.
Liar.
That is a lie.
That is a liar. That is a liar. That is a liar. The singer is a liar. That is a lie. So we've talked about this, and I'm sure if you've listened to this podcast, you've listened to previous episodes where we did get into detail about songwriters and ghostwriters, and this person didn't write that song. But it's true. If you didn't hear that one, the singer isn't necessarily writing the songs that they're singing. And if they are, there might be one or two other guys or girls in the room kind of helping that process along.
Well, I can even think off the top of my head right now a band that really surprised me, and I won't say their name, but they're close friends of ours, who their singer doesn't write anything ever. The rest of the band does, and the singer just sings it.
Man, say their band name real quick and we'll bleep it out.
The band is
Loud noises!
Dang.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did
I
you
don't know that I knew that.
Yeah.
I know one of the writers that works with them on a lot of their records. He's a dang good singer, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, so something that happened to us as we toured the country and the world and did all the fun, famous-y things
The word of the day is famous-y.
is we accrued a pretty large social media following.
Well, that's a sign of fame. I mean, to a T. Like definition, Webster says fame equals Facebook likes.
Yeah, I don't think it says that. You should check your sources again.
I found that on Facebook.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's got to be real.
Yeah, just like everything else on Facebook. That is so not true. Having followers on social media has absolutely nothing to do with how much money you make at all, ever, period, the end. I work with artists every single day. Some of them have tens of thousands of followers, and they're working fast food joints and same story.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is you don't necessarily have to get followers by being famous.
No, I really, right now, if you look at my computer, I just typed in buy Facebook likes, BUY, Facebook likes. And they're right at the very top of the page. For $3, you can buy 1,000 likes. So suddenly you've doubled your fan base, quote unquote, that of people who aren't real, but it looks like they're real. But they're not going to interact with anything you post, and they're not listening to your music. And back in the MySpace days, they're not listening to your featured song that was on your page. And they're not going to look more about your band like, oh, I just fake followed this, whatever. Let's go see what else they do. Like the only person you're fooling is yourself. Because if anybody looks at your page and sees that, oh, they have, let's say you spent $30 and have a good 10,000 likes on your page. They have 10,000 followers on their Facebook page. Let's see what their music's like. And the music's horrible, or there's only like 2 people who like your posts, and your mom's like, great post, son. Keep up the good work with you and your band friends. Then people are going to see right through that, especially record labels and anybody you're trying to pitch your music to do anything with.
Right. And now this is the purpose of this podcast is not to give professional advice.
Absolutely not, because we are not professionals.
But sure, there is a time and place where buying followers might be a good move for you if you're at a certain point in your career and you want to, boost your numbers to help, and that can work. Personally, I've never tried it, but I know people that helps. But when you're, when you're not doing anything, and again, your music is terrible, and you're out buying tens of thousands of followers, again, you're not fooling anyone. And
it's the same as commenting on your own pictures with a fake name. You look great today. Oh, thanks, friend, random stranger. It's boosting your ego, and yeah, it looks cool, and you're thinking it helps other people, but people do see right through that. And disclaimer, I don't know if you knew this or not, the music industry is an entertainment industry. So there is a lot of the whole smoke and mirror thing going on. And yeah, it does. If you go to the band you hear on the radio and you go and see they only have 200 followers, you're like, why should I like this band? They must not be that good. I like their song, but 200 people only think this? That's weird. So yeah, the label might fluff those numbers a little bit until the real fans catch on. It happens. But is that going to make you famous? Nope.
Not at all. Not at all. And it definitely is not going to make you more money. Now there is...
Wait, fame doesn't equal money though, right?
Well, no, not necessarily. Fame does not equal money. You're a great example of this, Robert, where you are famous. You have a very strong social media presence.
I'm not famous.
Okay.
Thank you though. Except for my YouTube videos of Barbie dolls.
Well, that's what I mean.
Oh yeah, okay, yes, I definitely. Thank you. I'm humble.
I'm very proud of my humility. But
Tweet that.
companies will give you things. They'll go to your social media and see, producer who's got a lot of followers, a lot of people are interacting with your content. So they'll, Kicker Audio just gave you some stuff, which you graciously shared with me as well.
Because it's good.
And so you post photos of yourself using their products, and that might get them some more sales.
Because they trust my opinion and see that I have however many thousand people or whatever that number is that are into music, obviously, because they follow my stuff, and be like, hey, we make a music product. Let's see what he has to say about it.
But all of those opportunities came because you went and got them. You're a worker. You're a hard worker, and you knew how to take your fame and your social media followers and use them to your advantage. That's the only way that fame really makes anybody any money.
And it breaks down to what you said before we started recording this podcast, Jake. You said that fame essentially is, by definition, it's just being known by a mass amount of people. That does not have anything to do with money. That's just being known. And there are lots of people who are really well known who are broke.
Yeah.
And that's becoming more and more of a thing now with viral videos and politicians and stuff like that they don't have all the luxuries that you think they do just because you know their name.
And that's a huge common misconception, is that fame equals money. In fact, so I was just listening to a top 40 pop station yesterday, and the song All About That Bass by Meghan Trainor came on.
This was yesterday?
This was yesterday.
Listening to the oldies? Seems how it goes about these days, right?
Right.
Song's been off the radio for 2 months and all of a sudden it's an old one.
Right. Well, and it got me to thinking. I heard this story about Meghan Trainor, so I looked it up again today. So Meghan Trainor had 2 hit singles out, one of which being All About That Bass that we all know.
Everybody knows that song. My kids know that song.
And she was broke. Incredibly famous, incredibly broke. She was literally living off of handouts from her record label, who were just giving her little loans, essentially, so that she could pay her rent. No money. Now, she did eventually make money off of song sales and royalties and that sort of stuff, but she was already incredibly famous and had no money.
And incredibly in debt, if I know how record labels work.
Oh, yeah. Fame does not equal money. Fame is a tool that you can use to your advantage to figure out how to earn money, but you have to be smart. You have to know how to do that. You can't just simply being famous. And there's countless stories of movie stars and athletes and, musicians, pop stars, rock stars who are incredibly famous and incredibly broke.
Hammer time.
Hammer time.
Broke.
And there are, she wasn't broke on purpose. There are lots of celebrities who use their fame and fortune to do good things and don't keep any of it for themselves. And I can give you a specific example. Mike Posner.
If I could write you a song to make you fall in love.
Made millions. He's written songs with Justin Bieber. He's been Grammy nominated. Probably won Grammys. I don't know off the top of my head on all his accolades, but he intentionally sold his whole sneaker collection, all this stuff. He had a Porsche, I think it was at the time.
Wow.
Got rid of all of this and lived, no lie, in his van.
Wow.
He was living in a van because he just wanted to break it down and stay true. And he did. He went down bare bones to the ground in a van by the river. So do I think he's cooler than me? I mean, yeah, in that aspect, I think that's awesome. And he's a good guy. We've talked about this, and I'm trying to get him on this podcast. So if anybody wants to hit him from the other angle, tweet him, Mike Posner, tell him, hey, you should be on Turned Up Podcast.
Mike, if you're listening, call us.
I'm going to text him right now.
So if you're Meghan Trainor, it's all about that bass. If you're the general public, it's all about the music, right?
All about the
If
music.
you're in the music industry, if you're writing songs, it's all about the music.
Kind of.
And it's the music industry.
It's the music industry is, like I said, an entertainment industry. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors. There's a lot that it's all based around money. The music industry doesn't exist because of music. It exists because of money. So obviously, I mean, if there were no music, there wouldn't be money. But they're not trying to find the next best song. They're trying to find the next song that can bring in more money.
Well, and any business that's successful, it sees a need. It fulfills that need.
Yeah.
People don't need music. People need entertainment.
So are you saying the top 40 songs on the radio are not the top 40 songs in existence? Those aren't like the best 40 songs?
Not even close.
Honestly, I like maybe 5 to 10 of the top 40 songs at any given time.
Well, and you're probably not even close to being alone in that.
I don't typically give in to the best songs are hitting radio. And I think most of you would agree with me when I say that why are these songs overplayed? Why are these songs not great? What happened to good music? Bring good music back. Well, personally, I think good music exists, just not on the radio.
And in some cases, sure, there are some great songs on the radio.
Absolutely.
But the music industry, first and foremost, yes, it is the entertainment industry. It is not about the music. It's about people being entertained, what is going to entertain them.
Let's be honest. Sex sells.
Right.
Being a good-looking person does not hurt your chances of getting your music on the radio.
Not at all. And look at the songs and the artists that are up at the top.
This music industry is full of a lot of very beautiful people. Couples, Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, gorgeous. That's country. I mean, look at all the top hip-hop artists. They're beautiful people. Look at the people who are singing all the rock songs. Man, those guys are good-looking dudes from a girl's point of view. Or some guys. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
I mean, it's fine if that's who you are.
Absolutely.
Seinfeld quote.
So yeah, it's a lot of what's happening in the music industry is about calling in favors. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
But what about you can buy your way into the spotlight, right? Like think Taylor Swift, think Trent Reznor.
Well, sure. I mean, I guess we've all heard that. Yeah, the reason they were able to make it is because they had wealthy parents who were able to pour hundreds of thousands of dollars into their young budding careers, and that allowed them to become the sensations that they are today, right?
I can tell you right now, I can think of at least 5 artists I've worked with whose parents have poured in, I would say, upwards of $100,000 each in making their album / paying for management / paying for radio play / buying likes on Facebook. All of the things that people do that think that will get them into that spotlight that I guarantee you not one person listening will know their names.
And the thing is, money doesn't hurt, but there are much more important things that the industry as a whole and that fans are looking for in an artist. Having money is much like having fame.
Yeah.
It's a tool, but what are you doing with it?
Yeah.
So just like fame doesn't equal money, money doesn't equal fame.
Money doesn't equal fame. Fame doesn't equal money. And that's, I think that needs to be on a t-shirt.
It does. Well, and again, just what I just said about it being the entertainment business and not necessarily about the music. When a record label or a manager or a booking agent is looking at an artist, they're not just simply saying, are they good?
Right.
They're looking and saying, does the industry have a need for this sound, or is there someone already doing it? Or for this look, or for this,
There are a million things they're looking at too. Also, do you already have a fan base, not a purchased fan base? Are there people out there that already want to hear your music? Like that takes the load off of their work. They can say, okay, they already have 100,000 people who like their music. I don't have to go find 100,000 fans for this person.
Well, and that's happening more and more and more because the industry as a whole is not completely sure how to help artists gain fans. It's used to, The only way you heard music that you had never heard before was the radio. That was it. And so it was very easy to grow your fan base. They would put your music on the radio. Instantly, everyone heard you. Your record started selling. It doesn't work like that anymore. People can get music from anywhere they want. They can listen to any artist they want. We As Human, again, is a phenomenal example of a record label pumping hundreds of thousands of dollars into a band and it not necessarily doing a whole lot of good for us in terms of climbing the charts, in terms of selling lots of records. Everyone's scrambling to try to figure it out.
And a whole lot less money has been poured into other bands and groups that have gone phenomenally, like way off the charts, astronomically into everybody's ear holes, just maybe off a handful of bucks.
Yeah.
So there's a whole big gamut here to run of what the chemistry is of getting that just right to make you famous, I guess, if you want.
Call it the Napoleon Dynamite complex. John Heder got paid $1,000 for his role in Napoleon Dynamite. They had no idea where that movie was going to go.
Apparently, the cult following that it had just totally blew it up.
Oh, it shaped culture for a little while.
I didn't like it the first 3 times I watched it.
But it's true. I mean, no one would have guessed that a silly movie like that would have done what it did. And the music industry is much the same. They don't know. It's just kind of throw whatever against the wall and see what sticks.
So I think that last misconception we'll cover another misconception as well. Again, not on our list, but so money can't buy fame because there's a certain recipe that a lot of labels are looking for and that the general public is looking for in order to excel in the music industry. The same way as going out and playing your favorite nightclub, you're not going to get discovered. Most likely not going to get discovered at a little mom and pop's bar or diner on a Thursday night in your fill in the blank Anytown, USA city that a random record label happens to be there on vacation and stops in and hears your band. Most likely not going to get discovered that way.
It used to happen.
I mean, sure, lots of things used to happen.
But now, again, they go to YouTube, they go to Facebook, they go to see who's already got a lot of, they call it buzz.
Yeah.
They look for buzz bands or buzz artists who people are already talking about, are already making waves in their community, in their region of the country. And then they go there specifically to see them. No one stumbles upon them by accident.
Exactly. And I mean, don't get us wrong. We said that songs on the radio might not necessarily be good songs, but it does take a good song to get on the radio in some fashion. You can't just put total junk up there. It's not going to catch because people don't want to hear it and then it won't make money. And that's the whole point.
So last topic that I want to touch on.
Hit me.
We're sitting here right now in front of microphones in my studio.
That's where I am. That's where you are. Yeah.
But it's a little studio. It's one room. Mine is anyway. One room. I've got a desk here with a little bit of rack gear, not a lot. Some guitars on the walls and then some stands. A little bit of equipment, nothing to scoff at.
It's good stuff. I love looking around right now. I like this room a lot, actually.
So yeah, how many Billboard charting songs do you think have been recorded in this studio?
I personally don't know the exact number, but I know it's more than that are on this hand.
It's more than one, less than 1 million.
Ooh, okay, so that narrows it down.
My point being, it doesn't take a huge, gigantic recording studio to put out great work.
What?
And that is a huge misconception that if you want the best of the best, you have to go to a big, expensive recording studio and record into big, expensive microphones through expensive preamps into an expensive console and have it done expensively with the most expensive process, all big and awesome.
And expensively.
Well,
I personally would blame the film and TV industry for this because I'm willing to guess that most of you have not been into one of these multi-million-dollar recording studios, so you wouldn't really know what it looks like if it weren't for television and movies. And you always see them, one person in front of one microphone in this huge, big recording studio room with 5 people with clipboards and, standing around a console that's 20 feet long with all these buttons and faders and doodads and knobs and looks like they're getting ready to blast off in a space shuttle.
Is this what the scene was like when you just filmed for Nashville a couple of weeks ago?
Actually, very much so. They had a TV set. where it made it look like a recording
Which,
studio.
just to back up really quick, they asked you to come in and play a studio engineer.
Yeah, I was
Or producer.
Okay, so a little fun fact about me: I was in the very first episode, doing this exact same thing, and
Nashville, yeah.
now they're in the last season, and they called me and said, "Hey, you want to do this again?" I'm like, "That's kind of cool to bookend the series," and so yeah, I did it, and
So you're part of the problem.
I'm part of the problem. But the thing is, at least they hired a real producer to play a producer, so I wouldn't be just twisting knobs. That's a big pet peeve. To see people and they're just moving faders, like no one does that in real life. There's no reason for him to be touching that right now. The level should already be set. Why is he moving buttons? So they wanted someone to actually make it look real in their fake scene. So if I'm like, you want it to look real, let's go into someone's bedroom and just,
Right.
So I see your point. Yes, it's all the glitz and glamour of the Hollywood industry, which made everybody think, if I'm going to cut a record, I need to spend $2,000 a day on a recording studio, plus pay the engineer, plus pay the producer, plus pay for admin fees and management and all the stuff to go into the studio for however many days, because that's what it takes. Fun fact again, the Kelly Clarkson record that I have a gold record for on the wall is the drums were recorded in a room smaller than a bedroom in it's essentially an office building.
Wow.
Right next to a body shop. Yeah, and that stuff I've heard. I've mixed records by bands you'd probably recognize that the vocals were cut by the producer. Some background vocals were cut by the producer as I was mixing it from a hotel room in Canada while he was traveling. So like he would be cutting things on his little MacBook Pro, sending me vocals that he recorded kind of whisper singing from a hotel room that made gold selling records.
So what are we saying? Are big recording studios bad or wrong?
No, absolutely not.
Not at all.
They're a lot
And
of fun.
If you have the budget, it can be incredibly inspiring.
Makes for great Instagram pictures.
Take lots, remember, and you can share them over the course of a year. Whatever.
Spread them out when you need content.
But all that said, yes, you're going to get great sounds in there. You're going to have good sound treatment, great
Possibly.
equipment.
I mean, yes, great equipment doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get great sounds of there. You and I both know this. Depends on who's running the equipment, depends on the talent, depends on if the equipment's been upkept or not.
I was literally just talking to someone on the phone last night about a big, famous recording studio here in town. They even have a platinum, I think it might even be a platinum cassette tape.
Oh, yeah.
For a Taylor Swift album that I won't name, or you'll be able to know what studio it is.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I've tracked in there twice now. Both times, good luck finding a microphone that works. Good luck finding a microphone. They don't have very many. The equipment, not kept up well at all. Trying to just get a headphone mix for the singer took half a day just to find anything that worked. Anything. I think we wound up literally running a cable from the control room, plugging into a 30-foot extension under the door into the next room, which all of it was like, I could have just done this in my studio in a fraction of the time.
Yeah, because you know your equipment and it works.
Right. And then the microphone we used had a tube going out in it. And so the tracks were a little distorted and it didn't sound pretty. Nothing went well. Went back again several months later thinking maybe I just had a bad experience. And it was even worse the second time around. So all that said, just because it's a big expensive studio doesn't mean that it's the best thing or that you need it. And do I love recording in big expensive studios? Sure.
It's a lot of fun.
Pretty. I like it. It can be inspiring. Are all the records that you're hearing nowadays being recorded there? No, because again, it's about money. It's about being entertained. And if you can be entertained for the least amount of money possible, that's what the record label and the artists and the managers and all those people are going to do. And if they find out that, oh, well, we can get an amazing sounding album with vocals recorded in a hotel room, that's what we're going to do because it's going to cost us a fraction of the price.
Right. So exactly our point. Recording in a big studio where all these other huge artists have recorded is not going to make you a huge artist. Recording with the best gear or the best producers who still worked on those best-selling albums, even if you have your stuff done with them, doesn't mean that it's going to happen to you either. Trust me, I know. I've tried.
It's so true. So I hope we've been able to clear up some very common misconceptions that a lot of people have about the music industry, about the amount of money that artists make, about what goes into songwriting and recording. I suppose if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. If you have any other things that you want cleared up or want to know about the music industry,
Something you just need to know.
feel free to hit us up on social media.
Twitter or Instagram at Turned Up Podcast, or on Facebook.
.com/turneduppodcast.
I like how you had to finish the .com part.
Well, huge thank you to Real Sound Productions for giving us this platform to do this podcast and send it out to you.
Hey, do you have a podcast? Because we are interested in hearing it. Just because we need something to listen to too. We don't just listen to ourselves. That'd be weird.
I've been loving Dirty John,
I finished that one up this last week.
and now I'm listening to You Must Remember This, Charles Manson.
Okay, so my wife listened to that one and is now obsessed with Manson. Like watching and Googling and
Oh yeah,
all things
I'm doing
Manson.
the same thing now.
She knows all sorts of things about it, and I haven't gotten into that one yet. I'm scared to because I know the way my brain thinks, and then suddenly I will get no work done. I've been listening to a brand new podcast called Atlanta Monster.
I need to check that one out.
It's brand new. Literally, I think they only have like 1 or 2 episodes out right now. It's by Payne Lindsay. He's done another podcast that was really successful. And it's all about like real true crime stuff. And I think I'm going to like this one too. Problem is I have to wait every week for a new episode or however long it is to come out with a new one. So
That's so frustrating having to wait a week for a new episode.
I'm so used to being slow onto like the train and getting things after they've been off forever, like TV shows and series. Like I'm about to start Friends. I haven't seen that yet. Something about Star Wars too. I don't know what that one is.
For shame. Oh, Star Wars. Yeah, it's
It's got the guy
Live Long and Prosper.
Yeah,
right?
and
Starship Enterprise.
and yoga in it. The little green
yes,
guy.
Yoga.
Yeah,
Is that where they get the name Yoga? Like the
because you get in yoga pose or something. I don't know. I guess
Okay.
you get down like a little dude has green pointy ears. I don't know.
yes.
Yeah, so I about to start. I always jump on the train late, is what I'm trying to say. So having to wait for the next episode in this time and place in this society where we're all used to getting what we want right now, it's killing me. I have no patience.
Speaking of podcasts, we're going to be having a guest on very soon from another podcast, a well-known podcast.
Ooh, yeah, definitely.
Excited about that.
If you're just one of those people who lurks and follows and listens to our voices like creepers while you're on the subway or walking your dog or whatever, sitting in the bathtub, it would be great, just a little nod, say hi by giving us 5-star rating on whatever you're listening to. Unless it goes to 10 stars, then give us all 10 of them. And then, hit that little button that says rate and review, and then say something clever. Something about Jake.
It helps us know how we're doing. It helps us know whether our intros are too long. It helps us know that we're putting out really good, informative, and entertaining content for you, and it helps us know which direction you shape this podcast. You are the ones we're making the podcast for, so we want to know where you want it to go and what you want to hear about.
Oh my gosh, Jake. I'm such a horrible co-host. I forgot this part. Thank you, Jake Jones, for recording and editing and mixing this episode of Turned Up Podcast.
Well, thank you, Robert, for
what? Go ahead.
thanking me.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
And thank you for your research into this topic. And thank you for being my famous friend. And thank you for...
I feel like right now is the point of the podcast where most people have already turned it off. So coming up here in about 5 seconds, we're going to say something. If you tweet us this next word, you will win. We don't have anything to give you, but you'll just win. So you will win a free pass to listen to the next episode when it comes out on whatever you're listening to this one on. Remember how Conky always did that word of the day thing?
Ready to assist you. Pee-wee.
Morning, Conky.
What's today's secret word? Today's secret word is...
Famous-y.
You all know what to do.
Use it in a sentence, Robert.
All the other letters in the alphabet said he was a really famous-y.
Hashtag dad jokes.
Tweet that at us, and you get to win nothing. It'll just be fun to see how many people are tweeting at us, and other people are like, what in the world's going on? We'll retweet it. Everybody who tweets us, we will retweet.
And make sure you listen to the end of a lot of these podcasts because we like to add little Easter eggs and funny things at the end sometimes.
Ooh, by popular demand, we got several messages and DMs on social media to play this again. Let's play our song that we created last week in the podcast right now.
It's going to take us out.
Let's do it. This is Nashville signing out.
Peace.
You're listening to the Turned Up Podcast. Turned Up Podcast. You're listening to the Turned Up Podcast.